What's going on YouTube? This is Jared Juggernaut 1, and as I am sort of getting ready for Nats now, I wanted to do parts 2 and 3 of preparing for Nationals. So part 2, as I mentioned, is basically going to be kind of talking about some side deck cards. So I'm going to take out some cards from my deck box to talk about a few different side cards I'm liking for this minute. Now, the first one I want to talk about is kind of a more basic one of the more generic side cards I'm going to recommend. Mind Crush. Mind Crush to me is gonna be in a great majority of side decks. You guys pretty much know what it does. You name a card. If it's in your opponent's hand, they're forced to reveal their hand and discard all copies of it. That is, unless it's a card that's like limited, in which case they don't have to show their hand. But yeah, if they or of course if they yeah, that's pretty much the only situation. If they discard a card that's limited, they don't have to really do anything. It's very good. A lot of decks are playing Pot of Duality or playing some form of search card, so it really does help. I've sided this in against a lot of different decks. Part of the idea, though, is also you just side this in once you pretty much know what the deck is playing and the cards that are being used, and you just work from there. You just don't main deck it because you use the first duel to get a good sense of what they're playing. Next card, or like I said, this is like a little trio. I think it's going to be in a bunch of side decks. Dust Tornadoes and Malevolent Catastrophe. Now, some players may try to actually main Dust Tornado, but it's still going to be in some side decks, so I'm talking about it. Basically, since a lot of the cards that are in the side deck that are very effective, such as Rivalry of Warlords, Goes and Match, they're like permanent, trap cards. So you want to have Dust Tornado to get rid of those cards. It's really really good, just to have that out to it, that extra out. You just got to play it correctly. And Malevolent Catastrophe just clears the spells and trap zones, and that's very good, especially against the anti-meta matchup where they're playing a lot of spells and traps, and you just want to remove them. You just got to be careful, of course, because you're going to be playing a lot of spells and traps as well. So if you have a bunch set and you draw into this, it's not exactly going to be good for you. But yeah. Probably one of the more popular cards as well, DD Crow. This thing is basically how do I describe this? This thing was very popular at last year's Nationals, and some players even chose to main it, in spite of the fact that X-Sabers were very popular, and this card wasn't very effective against X-Sabers, let's be honest. It was okay in some respects, but it was nothing that I thought was that good. This year, I think although it'll make a lot more sense to main it just because of the decks that are going to be played. So I think it's going to be it'll be much more logical to play this in the main deck, but we will see. But otherwise, it's just a very good card in the side deck. Just sided in against a lot of stuff. That just involves the graveyard. It's really good. Yes. Another card, Chain Disappearance. This is one of the nastiest side deck cards I have ever seen. It's unbelievable. This card, to me, is absurd. Completely absurd that it does to some decks. You guys know what this does probably. It removes a monster. When a monster with 1,000 attack or less is special summoned, or not special summoned, summoned, remove that monster from play, and then remove all copies from the deck and hand. It's unbelievable because you can basically you do this to six. You side this in against 6 samurai when you go first. You set it, you activate. When they bring out Kagemusha is removed. They can't synchro. They can't synchro anymore. They are pretty hurt by this. It's pretty bad for them. But there's a lot of other decks you can basically use this against. But when you use it against a deck like Plants, it's not as lethal, but it still does do the job, just because, remove their Dandelion, remove their Spore, Global, etc. Anything like that. There's so much you can remove, so it's still worth playing. But, yeah, there's going to be a lot of decks you can pretty much side this in against. It's pretty unbelievable. Um, for Six Samurai, you know, Puppet Plant, Kinetic Soldier, uh, to me, which you'd rather play is definitely like a matter of preference or what you're expecting to play, because Six Samurai, they're starting to side D-Fissure, so Puppet Plant doesn't work. But on the other hand, Puppet Plant is more effective because you take their Xian and just sync with it immediately, so it's a more immediate way of getting rid of it. Um, Kinetic, obviously very good, but its major downside is if they go hand to the Six Samurai, or excuse me, or if they synchro summon into something that isn't a warrior monster, they can just get around it. It's not that hard. Still, that doesn't mean you shouldn't play it. One of my personal favorites, which I'm going to definitely make room in my side deck for, Debunk. This card, unreal. It is unreal in terms of all the different decks it hits. This card basically negates it stops anything that activates in the hand or grave. It's amazing. I was siding this in pretty much in almost every match I played on yesterday at my locals. It was wow, just wow. But it's a very good card. There's so many different things it stops, but this is especially good when you side this in plants. You side this in to not only to deal with your opponent's deck, but to also deal with the DD Crows and Effect Veilers they're going to be playing against you. So look at it that way. I mean, but this is good against X-Sabers, Gravekeepers, Plants, Fabled. Do I even need to continue? It's just that good. I guess there were other cards I could theoretically talk about, but overall there just isn't all that much. Last but not least, I guess I want to talk about there are two cards. First is Cyber Dragon. A lot of people are going to be playing Cyber Dragon for the machine matchup, Katakuri, Machina, Gadget, that kind of stuff. But this is just good in a deck where you can just, special summon, instant special summon, get a beater out. It's very good. And last but not least, a card I don't have, which is Max C. Max C I'm definitely having mixed feelings about, but I may want to try and get one because of the fact that it's good. It's pretty damn good in all honesty, because it is just one of those cards where it can be very good, but it can also be kind of just meh. Most of the time, it's going to at least be a 1-for-1, though, which is nice, but I just kind of don't like the fact that sometimes your opponent will just really play around it. I mean, sometimes you'll get a lot of draw power out of it, but I don't understand why players won't just end their turn. It doesn't seem worth it to keep special summoning a lot when your opponent's just going to keep drawing cards, more and more cards than they would draw from having Librarian. It's pretty dumb in a way, but it does at least add a sense of balance to against some of these decks that special summon a lot. Bites them in the ass ultimately, which is definitely good. But that's pretty much it in terms of side decking cards. There's other cards I can cover, but I want to get on to my last part of this thing. So hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.